Cool, I guess. So, we're running out of room here at the office for all the people that are coming today. So what I wanted to do today, and this is for people that are either dual career, but it would apply to people that aren't. And I didn't make slides in advance because I don't know, didn't do that. And what we mean by dual career is somebody who's already got another job or because of their situation cannot be full-time. And the question really is, what are the advantages? I'm going to start with this, advantages of being a dual career person. And we don't have a lot of people in the room to answer the question. Do you have any examples of what would be?
Double income.
Double income. The first one is money, right?
Yeah.
Because you have a job and you're being paid, and so you can support yourself. What's another reason? And by the way, if you're online and you have a microphone, you could talk. We could hear you. So what's another advantage to keeping your existing job rather than quitting and going full-time? Besides the fact that you have money.
Experience.
Experience. I'd be willing to write that down, but can you meet people at where you're working right now? I've actually had agents over the years. I've worked for companies that allow dual career agents. Not everybody does. And I've had people that had no intention of ever going full-time because what they did for a living is where they met all the clients. And as soon if they were to quit, they would all of a sudden have lost their sphere of influence, lost the people that were interested in buying and selling real estate, and they wouldn't have anything left. There's another advantage for people that are doing this dual career, which this may seem contradictory, and there's an advantage. This is an advantage, a limited time. So waiting for name has left. All right, limited time. Some people have already had enough of my own. And why would limited time be an advantage? An advantage.
They keep themselves busy
Well,
all the time.
Yeah. So see, this is the problem if you're the only one here. The people online aren't willing to talk. So what I've noticed is I've been coaching people for a really long time. And I've coached people that have become very successful. There are people that went through my real estate school that are top agents at other companies. Some of them went through my training program as new agents. Some of them I coached at Keller Williams. And then on the other hand, I have a group of people that start the process and they even sign up for coaching. I have several coaching systems. One is an optional system for people that just want to get better. They want to cap. They want to get to 100%. And a lot of those people, some of those people do very well. And there's always people that just say, I had this happen last week. I don't want to do this anymore. And what they don't want to do, when it comes down to it, what don't they want to do? It's not, they don't want to have a plan. They don't want to have a written plan. They don't want to have goals. They don't want to make a list of what am I going to do next week. They don't want to time block. They don't want to be accountable. They don't want anyone to say, what was your plan? How did it go? What did you do? Right? They don't want that because they're not planning on doing anything. Therefore, it's just annoying to have me ask them, what did they do? And what that has related to an advantage of people that have another job is that if you have another job, you know you have limited time, which means those people are oftentimes, if they're serious about making money in real estate, are also serious about time blocking and being efficient. See, if I talk to somebody who doesn't have a job and they're sitting out here and I say, you need to do this, they could say, well, I'll do it this afternoon. I'll do it later. I got all day. right? I could do it whenever, I need to do it. And a lot of times that never happens. One of the disadvantages, if we're going to do this, advantages, disadvantages, well, anyhow, and V-A-N-T. How about that? Disadvantages, of course, one is limited time, right? And that means that you may not, it's not just that you don't have as many hours. The reality is most people that have real estate licenses don't work very many hours. So one of the questions I ask people that are dual career, how many hours a week could you devote to real estate? Right. 5, 10, 20. There are people that do 20, and if you were to efficiently work 10 hours a week, you could be working harder than a lot of the people that don't have other jobs. Yeah, I know. Is that It's shocking? Yeah. So that there's a limited time, and sometimes I've noticed a lack of focus, and that's really related to commitment. Right. There's this famous writing about Julius Caesar, who at one point he fought other Romans before at one point too, and he was in Greece fighting another Roman army, and his army was on a peninsula, and the other army was at the top of the peninsula, and he was stuck on the peninsula. In other words, he was trapped, and one of his generals was saying, well, we're trapped. And he said famously, I'm going to try not to, I forget the exact words, but he said, I'm trying to ignore that great advantage that we have. And one of the generals says, advantage? What do you mean advantage? We're trapped. And he said, I know. Their army isn't. His people have alternatives to fighting. Mine do not. Right? Do you understand? Yeah. They can turn and run. My soldiers cannot turn and run. Yeah. I have an advantage. And he won that battle, right? And he won that. Well, of course he did. He became, So sometimes I can always go back to doing what I'm doing, right? You have more options than sometimes other people do. All right. So I'm just how to start, right? How about that? And one of the things, there's two parts to the business, and one part is prospecting and marketing, and another part is customer service. Okay. And so there's two parts to the business, and one of the things that many times people that get into real estate don't understand is that they have two businesses, and one business is a prospecting and marketing company. It's like having another company. And another business is the customer service business. So what you have to do is you have to spend time on the idea, how am I going to get business? And once I get business, what am I going to do with them? And what we're really talking about, what it all really boils down to is appointments, right? What you need to do in the prospecting and marketing, what we're prospecting and marketing for is appointments. And those are either appointments with buyers or appointments with sellers. And at the beginning, the customer service part can be a problem, but one of the things that I do for the people that are in the coaching program is that if you had somebody that wanted to buy a house and you brought them in, I would meet with them, with you. If you had somebody that wanted to sell a house, I would meet with them, with you, if you wanted that help, which takes a little bit more of the burden off. What am I going to do when I get an appointment? There are some people that don't talk to people because they're afraid they're going to say yes. Right? They're afraid they're going to say, well, yeah, actually, I am thinking about buying a house. Can we talk tomorrow? And you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do, So you need to work on both. And related to this is you have to make a commitment of time in order to learn how to do both parts. Right? In other words, you should time block at times during the week when you're going to study prospecting and marketing as well as customer service. In other words, you have to make a commitment that you actually want to do this for real. Right, you understand, you have to say, and I've had a lot of agents start off, I had a guy part-time, did 14 transactions in a year and a half, right? And so he could quit his job, which is what he wanted to do, and tell him, just a second. So, and I have somebody saying that asking if the meeting has started. Who's online? Was there anything wrong with the link that I sent out to people? I don't know. I'm not knowing them for me now. Nobody's talking. It's just the way it is. Okay, all right, let me just, it seems like the link was sent out a couple of times.
It was. I received it.
All right, well, let's just keep going. All right, so you have to make a commitment that you're going to do this. So let's talk about exactly what would you do? What would you do as a new agent? All right. What should I be doing? All right, how about that? There's a good question. Number one is you need to start with your the people of influence. So this is something that some people actually have a resistance to, but I know that 80 to 90% of the real estate business, whether you're a brand new agent or you're an experienced agent, whether you're a full-time agent or a part-time agent, comes from people you know and open houses. All right, people you know and open houses.
Like the clients?
That's how do you find business. When they ask real estate agents, how did you meet the buyer? How did you meet the seller? How did you get the business?
Okay.
Sphere of influence and open houses are by far, it's like 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The largest group is sphere of influence. So it's a two-edged sword if you're in a dual career division. And what I mean by that is that you have the advantage if you have another job or profession of that you meet people, and you have the disadvantage in that they know that you do something else for a living full-time, right? You know, and so sometimes they don't think of you as, well, maybe you're a real estate agent, right? You understand? Because they're like, well, no, you're doing this.
Right.
Right. Now, I've noticed that there are people, just because of their nature and the way they hold themselves and the way people look at them, that there are people that the people that at work are going to say, wow, if you're doing real estate, that's wonderful. Why don't you? And then they'll just say, sign me up. I'll meet with you. They know that you're working full time for IBM or someplace like that, but why not, right? And then there are people that it's just the way it is. They're going to think, well, you're not a full-time real estate agent. You can't really do a good job. So you have to, and you may not know whether or not the people that you work with or the people you know or the people that know you fit into that category until you start talking to them. I realize that working a sphere of influence at work has some potential drawbacks in that your work may not like you looking for real estate business while you're at work, right? And so you have to, and you have to be a little more subtle, but you should make a list of all the people you know. You should make a list of everybody that's in your email account, everybody that you're friends with on Facebook, everybody that's in your cell phone. Right? You should, in the old days, and by the way, I still do this sometimes, I'll give people 100 4x6 or 5x8 cards, and I'll tell them to go ahead and write out as many people. The goal is to find 100 people that you know that you have contact information for, that you have their phone number, you have their phone number and email address, you have their email address, you have their real address that would recognize you.
Those who might be like looking for, or
Just everybody.
just everybody?
Everybody. Because even if you're not looking to buy or sell real estate, you might know somebody that is.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the first thing you have to do is convince them you're a real estate agent.
Right.
And I just made a This Month in Real Estate, which I'm going to be sending out to everyone. Tomorrow probably. But it's a newsletter that Keller Williams has that you can send out to people that shows what's going on in the real estate business. It can be done email, it can be done in real mail, but you need to let people know that you're in the real estate business.
Okay.
Now, sometimes I've had people say, I don't know anybody that has any money that wants to buy or sell real estate. I've actually known real estate agents that the last group, I'm not saying this applies to any of us, but the last group of people that were going to work with them were people that knew them, right? Just for whatever reason. So now we're saying, well, let's say I don't have a sphere of influence. They're not going to let me talk about real estate at my job. They'll fire me if they find out. I can't even add it to my LinkedIn profile because if I do that, somebody from work is going to see it. I have to be a stealth agent as far as my work goes. My family and friends don't want to buy anything. They don't want to sell anything. I don't know anybody in this area. So one of the agents that I coached who did about $2 million in commissions last year, who works elsewhere, went to my real estate school, joined a training program I did at another company. I had said, and she told me recently, because she's about to she wants to become a broker, that there was something that she remembered that I had said, because she had come from out of the area, did not know anybody, did not have a sphere of influence in Santa Clara County. And there's two kinds of people. There's the people you know and the people you don't know. And I asked what seems like an obvious question, which is the larger group. And the larger group, of course, is the people you don't know, right? And so she worked on them. So what the easiest way for you to find people that you don't already know that are interested in buying and selling real estate is an open house. Easiest way. So I want to talk about that. How often should you do one? Open houses. So how often? Well, the question really is asking how quickly do you want to make money? One of the things you have to really ask is why am I getting a real estate license? Why did I get a real estate license? Now that I got a real estate license, what do I want to really do? What do I really want to do in a year, or 2 years, or 3 years, or even 5 years? What would I really want to do? And if the answer is I would like to make enough money to quit my job. Now, one of the things that I'll do, but this isn't a technically difficult thing, is to come up with, well, how much money would I need to make from real estate each year in order to cover what I'm making now, pay for my dues and fees and all the other stuff that I have to worry about, taxes and board dues and MLS and all that sort of stuff. How much money would I really need to make in order to break even? This is what I call a needs analysis, right? What's that number? And then when you come up with the number, which I've had people say 50,000 and some people say 500,000, it's all over the place. Like, really? Well, okay, sure, right, fine. So once you've come up with a number, can you then determine what an average commission would look like? Right. And divide the amount of money you would make on average from the sale of a real estate into the number that you need in order to make the switch. And then that would tell you how many transactions you would need. Yeah. Right? Now, if you say to yourself, and by the way, this is where I lose people in the coaching program. Right? This is the pot where people start to eyes glaze and they go, this sounds like too much for me, because and we'll see how it goes. So let's say we have a number. Okay. And the number is, let's just say 10 transactions. Right? Just for SACTR, 10 transactions. Right? Now, in our market, 10 transactions would be putting you somewhere in the neighborhood of netting $150,000, let's say. Okay, something like that. So 10 transactions. So how many appointments, how many buyers and sellers would you have to talk to in order to close 10 transactions? You may not know, but not every buyer you talk to is going to buy. right? Even people that sort of want to buy may want to do other things. They may have other ideas. They may say, well, we're going to look at this, we're going to look at that. We're going to think about it. We've been told to wait. We've been told, so let's say that 1 in 4, let's say that 1 out of every 4 buyers. And by the way, it's good to have listings. And if you know people or meet people at open house, you can get listings. But the reality is for most new people getting started, it's going to be buyers. They're easier to work with. You get to make money and learn the business. So let's say you're going to need 40 appointments in order to do close 10 transactions. Now, if we were to divide that by 10 months, because agents don't really work all the time, you're looking at 4 appointments a month times 10 months. And by the way, what you'll notice is that if you really did an appointment a week, and by the way, what I've noticed is that for everybody, if they do an appointment a week, first of all, you'd be making $500,000 a year.
Really?
Or yes, really. 1 appointment a week, because what would happen is you'd get good at the appointments. So my rule of thumb was you needed to do, and so these numbers aren't going to really match, but you would need to do, roughly speaking, about 4 appointments, 4 open houses to get a client, right?
Okay.
So so this would be sort of a goal. If you're saying to yourself, well, let me make this 5 transactions, you could, by the way, cap at Keller Williams with 5 transactions, which means you'd reach 100%. That means you'd need 20 appointments, and that means you would need 2 appointments a month, right? 5 times you'd be doing about you'd be netting around $70,000, right? Which, by the way, for a part-time income is not too bad, right? You're saying, and once you reach that, then it would be, let's go to stage 2, 2 appointments a month. And so if you did 8 open houses a month, yeah, that would mean Saturday and Sunday, 4 weeks. Right now, if your mileage may vary, right? Sometimes you do an open house and you get 2 or 3 people. Sometimes you do 4 open houses and you get nothing, right? So, and what will happen is that the more you do and the more committed you are to learning how to do it, the better all these ratios are going to go, right? In other words, if you did an open house, see, for a lot of people, if I said if you did an open house every weekend, you'd end up with 1 client, 1 appointment a month, right? Easily. And you actually could end up with a client a month, right? But if you were doing open houses even every weekend, every Saturday or every Sunday, you would get better at it, at doing open houses. So you would start, your ratio would improve.
But to begin with doing an open house, you need to have a listing.
No. So now we're going to move, the question is, don't I have to have a listing? So we're going to talk about how to find an open house.
Okay.
All right. Now, I have a YouTube channel. Mike's YOU YouTube channel is called 24SANJOSE. And one of the things you're going to find if you watch my YouTube channel is a video on how to find an open house. And what I'm going to do is we're going to find an open house. Doesn't that sound like a fun thing to do? So let me just see if we've improved at all. Well, we've got NECA has joined us, that's group. Ali, we're going, that's cool. So how would you find an open house to do, right? Besides watching my video, if you go into the MLS and you click on matrix search, and now I'm going to write this on the little slide a little bit. We're going to click on active listings. Personally, single family homes work better, right? Because sometimes condos and townhomes have issues like access, right? Sometimes they have gates that you have to get through and you have to have 2 people, 1 person let them in, 1 person, but it all depends. Right now, we're not going to be fussy. And I would say Santa Clara County, now, Santa Clara County, or you pick whatever county you want to do. We're going to say Santa Clara County. I wouldn't, again, we could be less fussy than that. If you might say, well, I live in Gilroy, I only want to do South County, that would be fine. You could say, I want to make money in real estate and I don't care. I had agents that drove from Santa Cruz over to do open houses, right? Because we had more opportunities here than Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
So and I'm going to assume, because this is sort of self-serving, I'm going to pick an area. I also will make it less crazy. And once we've done that, we've picked active listings and we've picked an area. What you're going to want to do if you're in the MLS is you want to click on the button at the bottom that says Add Advanced Fields, and you can see I've already added a whole bunch of fields. It may be an error in judgment to add all the fields. I've had some people say, well, I'll just add all the fields so I can see what they're alike and then delete them later. There's like 135 fields. But I've added a bunch of fields, and one of the fields that you're going to want to know is the listing office broker code. Right? Because what we're going to do is we're going to be going through the stages of finding an open house. So stage 1 is to find other Keller Williams listings. So it doesn't have to be our office. It doesn't have to be your listing.
Okay.
Technically, it doesn't even have to be Keller Williams. However, your business cards that say Keller Williams and their for sale sign that says Keller Williams sort of match. Do people really know what is the difference between Keller Williams Silicon Valley, Keller Williams Silicon City, Keller Williams Bay Area Estates, Keller Williams Bay Area Living? Does who cares, right? And if the sign said Keller Williams Palo Alto on the outside and yours said Keller Williams Silicon City, do you think, I'll tell you, no one's even going to notice that there's a subtle difference. So we're going to start with stage 1 is other Keller Williams listings. And I put together, actually I had my assistant do it, this is a list of all the broker codes for Keller Williams offices, right? And some of them, by the way, are going to say, no, we don't let other Keller Williams do our open houses. But I had my assistant go through and find, we get back to this, all these broker codes.
Okay.
So listing office broker code, I've already added, and so what we would do, and I picked it Morgan Hill and Gilroy just for reasons some of you online will guess, but not everybody will care about. But this could be Santa Clara County. Now, when we've done that, notice there are 7 homes in Morgan Hill and Gilroy that are listed by Keller Williams agents, 7. And if I were working the Morgan Hill and Gilroy area aggressively, I would have talked to every one of those agents. I would have talked to them all. And some of them are very expensive and some not so much. Let's just pick one here. Here's $1,000,099 in Gilroy. By the way, $1,099,000 buys you a lot of home in Gilroy. A lot of home in Gilroy. Now, this guy, Mark Von Cannell, is not going to let you do his open house. You can call him and ask him, but I'm telling you, Keith Kennedy, his wife went through the real estate school. He's a nice guy. He might just say, sure, now this one looks like it's just, there is a single family residence here, but this one, it may be difficult because of, there's all these restrictions. Catherine Clock, I don't know, I have to admit, I do not know Catherine Clock. Notice this one, this one is vacant. So this requires a little bit of time. Vacant listings, let me go back to this. I'm going to just add this in. Vacant. What are the advantages of calling an agent who has a vacant listing? The owner doesn't live there, and so they don't even have to make any kind of arrangement with the owner to do an open house. So vacant, I like vacant. I'll show you what happens if we run out of time. Days on market, 1 day on market. no showings to 5/7, beautiful curb appeal. Let's see, she's at Bay Area Estates, right? What I would be doing is if I were focusing on the Morgan Hill Gilroy area, I would know every time Keller Williams had a listing in Morgan Hill and Gilroy, I would call the listing agent up and I would say, congratulations, I see you just listed this house on a Heritage Way in Gilroy. It looks wonderful. I was just reading about it in the MLS. I'm with Keller Williams down in, I live in the area and I would love to be of help with open houses. Do you need any help with an open house? And sometimes the listing agent doesn't want to do them, is busy, has stuff coming up. And if they say, well, it's just been on the market one day, you know, I plan on doing my own open houses for the first couple of weeks. Hopefully it'll sell by then. That's wonderful, but if anything ever comes up. By the way, are there other days you can do an open house besides Saturday and Sunday?
Why would you want to? People can't come.
People can't come. People can't come. So Friday afternoon, no one is out shopping. People are not driving around. Everybody is in an office working someplace. Maybe not. And if you did an open house in the afternoon to early evening, sometimes these are called twilight open houses. You understand there are people that have children that they drop off in the morning and they pick up in the afternoon, right? And could you time an open house so that people bringing their children home could go to it and people after work could go to it? Is there going to be less competition? So if Catherine says, I'm doing Saturday and Sunday, could you say I'd do Friday?
Yeah.
Right? Or Friday afternoon or Friday evening. Right now, if you work during the day, that may be a problem, but you might be able to do that. So, by the way, if you're really, I'm just running Morgan Hill and Gilroy for funsies, but if you're really, Steve Munn, I know Steve Munn. He's been around a long time. Keller Williams Realty, Cupertino, vacant. Steve Munn works essentially is working the Korean market in the Santa Clara area. He's been around a long time. He also used to work at the company I used to work at back in the day. And it's a vacant listing in, where is it? Gilroy. And I would bet a cookie, and notice he has a 650 phone number. I'd bet a cookie that Steve Munn doesn't want to go down to Gilroy every weekend to do open houses. I'd bet a cookie on that. And it's been on the market 15 days, which means he's had 2 weeks, and it hasn't sold yet, and it's vacant. And if I were in the Morgan Hill, Gilroy area and I wanted to do an open house, I'd be calling Steve Munn up and saying, hey, how you doing? I see you have a listing at 205 Lily Avenue in Gilroy. It looks beautiful. I'd like to do an open house. Now, let's say, by the way, if we were to remove, if we go back here to criteria, first of all, does everybody understand that learning how to use the multiple listing service would help your efforts to do this? Are there trainings and videos on how to use the multiple listing service? The answer is yes. Our system is called Matrix, M-A-T-R-I-X, like the movie, and it's software that's used all over the United States, and I found really good trainings in Texas on using Matrix. Now, the cities are different, but the software is exactly the same. So let's, and by the way, if I were to say, I don't really care where it is, I just want to do an open house for anybody at Keller Williams, and I don't really care. You know, if it's in fact, what we could do is if we remove all this, and now we have 107, there are 107 Keller Williams listings in Santa Clara County, active right now, 107. I'll bet that there are people on that list that are tired of doing an open house, don't want to do an open house every weekend, would let you do an open house. I'll bet that there's some. Now, let's say and I'm going to go back to the Morgan Hill Gilroy just because I'm trying to make a point. Let's say you say, well, I've talked, there's only 7 in Morgan Hill and Gilroy. I've talked to them all. Now, I'm using this sort of as a metaphor. You might live in Evergreen, right? You might live in Santa Clara. You might live in Sunnyvale or Milpitas, and you might say, well, I'm Blossom, I want to do them around me, so you can pick the area. There's an advantage. I put up a video on how to do open houses. That's back to my YouTube channel. I have lots of videos on how to do a really good open house. All right, and so I'm not covering all that because I'm assuming that if you're motivated, you could watch my video. So we're taking out listing broker code. And one of the things that I'm going to click on is vacant. Vacant. Now, when I've done that, I've got Morgan Hill, Gilroy, San Martin, Santa Clara. I don't care if they're Keller Williams. There are 35 vacant listings. Now, first of all, what we're doing is the low-hanging fruit. As we're going down the list, the easiest sale to make is another Keller Williams agent. Easiest to make, right? Because you're Keller Williams and I'm Keller Williams, and you know, your open house signs look like my for sale signs. Yeah. Your business cards look like my business cards. Why not? Plus, Keller Williams has this family, community, we're working together kind of a thing. Why not? Okay. Number 2, we're just going through what's easy. Number 2 are who cares what office, but they're vacant. Okay. I'm telling you, as a listing agent, vacant listings get tiresome. Right? It has the advantage of I don't have to call the owner and say, you know, the owner is calling me saying, are you doing open houses? By the way, if you want to make it the lowest hanging fruit, you look for vacant listings that have been on the market for more than 20 days. Right? Do you think that the agent has become less thrilled about doing the open houses? They've already done the first few weekends. It hasn't sold. It's vacant. Does the owner want more open houses? Of course. Does the agent want to keep doing open houses? Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe by themselves, maybe not. Yeah. Right? So, and I'm going to show you, just for fun, how you could find, based upon when it was listed, days on market, but we have 35, and I'm going to click on all, so it selects all of them, and we have 35 from expensive to cheap. That are vacant, and I'm just going to pick Schaefer here, 1,100,000, 1,200,000. All right, so this looks like in Morgan Hill, listing agent Harvey Young, you know, happens to work in Keller Williams' office. I don't know why it didn't come up before, unless he's moved recently. There he is. He's at Keller Williams Cupertino. Harvey, I see his signs because I live in Morgan Hill, and I see a sign. So, Harvey, this has been on the market 65 days. Why didn't it show up? I mean, I just didn't look. It's in Morgan Hill. It's vacant. And it's a Keller Williams listing. Right? Harvey's a nice guy. He's got the, you know, I'd be talking to him and saying, hey, you know, it's beautiful. Do you need any help with an open house? And if we do a little research, here's one, Tiffany Lloyd Lofton. And what I would do is I would scroll down and look, and she's at Coldwell Banker. She has a vacant listing. Now you can do listings with any office. Now not all real estate companies do this, by the way. For example, the Keller Williams in Bay Area Estates and the Keller Williams, which is Campbell and Santa Cruz and San Jose on Great Oaks, those offices have a rule that you can only do open houses for Keller Williams, and some of them have rules that you can only do open houses for their Keller Williams, right? This office and the office in San Carlos, where I spend most of my time here and there, you can do an open house anywhere you want, right? And so Tiffany, she's Coldwell Banker, you can do an open house. Now, this one has been on the market 56 days and it's vacant. Do you think Tiffany's getting tired of doing open houses? Yeah. And we keep going through the list. Jody Barr, I wonder if that's any relation to Holly. No, a different, don't know who this is. 530 listing office phone number. She's got a 408 number. One of the other easy hanging fruit is to find agents with vacant listings and the agent is not from the area, right? This one's been on the market 82 days. It's vacant, right? So if, by the way, there isn't an easy search for finding out of the area agents, I'll just, Ruben Chen, see, now, notice it says 408. So we're looking at vacant listings in Morgan Hill and Gilroy. I'm just going to do a few to show you what I mean. Michelle Joy 916. See the area code?
Right.
Is 916 a Morgan Hill, Gilroy area code? No, no. So we scroll down to the bottom, Standard Pacific, wherever that is, co-listed with somebody else from Standard Pacific, Jennifer Padilla. Let me see. Been on the market 148 days now. And Standard Pacific. Now, sometimes if you see something like this, it's a new home subdivision and you're not going to be able to do an open house because that's a new home subdivision. And that's why she's from out of the area. We're going to just keep going. Does this take a look? Here's a 650 Shaheen. 650, not Morgan Hill and Gilroy zip code or area code. Shaheen Realty. If we wanted to, we could click on the listing office. If you click on this, I might as well do this. Millbrae. All right, this is what I look for. Millbrae is a long ways away.
Right.
It's a vacant listing. Do you think, if I were Shaheen, I would not be all that fussy about who's doing my open houses as long as it's not me, right? Now, by the way, if we kept at this, I'm just doing Morgan Hill and Gilroy for fun, but if we were to take out Morgan Hill and Gilroy and we were to just ask ourselves the question, if we click on criteria, we go back, and so I'm getting rid of this. How many vacant listings are there in Santa Clara County that are active? 507. 507. That's a big number, right? Now, most of the agents that hear me do this don't do anything. I'm not trying to be negative or cynical, but most agents that hear me talking about this don't ever do anything. So I've been doing this in my coaching classes, and Roberta went and started looking through vacant listings. She found a RE/MAX agent in Belmont that had listings, plural, in Campbell. She called him up. She called two people that she found at that time 400 and something vacant listings. She called one agent up who was from out of the area. That agent said, no, I don't want, I do my own open houses. It wasn't mean to her, but just said, no, thank you. I do my own open houses. The second person she called was an agent from RE/MAX in Belmont, and she was saying, well, she hadn't done this really before. She didn't know how they were going to react. So I know you have a listing, and it's over here, and what are you doing with open houses? And so the guy was confused for a bit of why she was calling, and he said, well, I did some at the beginning, but I don't do any more. And then she was asking more questions, and finally it hit him, and he said, are you calling me because you want to do the open house? And she said, yeah. And he said, great, I'll send you the information on the property. And so she did the open house. By the way, she met buyers that she wrote offers on that have closed. She got tired of doing that open house, right? Just got tired, right? And the guy said, you want to do it next weekend too, right? So she moved on to another one. She asked me the question, what do I say to people? Because RE/MAX, right, we're not talking about Keller Williams where the sign, your open house sign matches the sign in the front yard. Your business cards don't look like the sign in the front yards. People are probably hip enough to understand that that's not, you don't work for that company that's, So she had asked me, well, what do I say if somebody says, how come you are doing the open house for RE/MAX? And the answer is you say to them, George from RE/MAX represents the seller in any transactions involving this property. I'm here to represent buyers either for this home or another property like it.
So technically, we are finding to do the open houses is to find the buyers, which we can make our clients.
Right. The reason we're doing the open house is not to sell a house. How often, by the way, I have videos, right? I'm not going to go through all the how to do an open house because I've made really long videos.
Okay.
But according to the National Association of Realtors surveys, about 1% of the time buyers found the house they bought at the open house.
Okay.
1% of the time.
Wow.
Right, so we're not there to sell the house, but do we meet people that want to sell their homes and people that want to buy their homes, right? And I have scripts for this, videos, I have all this stuff, right? So, and I'm going to show you before we're done how to find more information that you ever wanted to know about open houses. We'll go to my YouTube channel as well. And by the way, I told her hardly anyone's ever going to ask her. One time somebody said, so how come? And she said, he represents the seller, I represent buyers. And I said, oh, okay. Right. And so they go do the open house, right? Now, let me see, how many people have left already? All right, not too many yet, just wondered. So does this say, and so Jay was also, and so what happened, I was talking about this in my group coaching sessions. Roberta was the first one that actually went and called people. She was doing open houses. So I asked her, did you get an open house? Yes. How'd you get an open house? She said, I did what you said. I said, how many people did you have to call in order to find somebody that wanted to let you do an open house? She said, 2 people. Were they mean? Were they angry that you called? Were they bothered that you called? She said, no, they were both really nice. How did the open house go? It went really well. It was in Campbell. It was nice. I met some people that were interested in buying a house. Cool. Jay hears Roberta doing this. So Jay wanted to work in an area that he lived in. He called 2 agents. First agent got voicemail, left a message. Jay's a little more direct. I saw you have a listing. I want to do the open house. That's okay. Let me know. Hung up, called the second agent. Second agent said, yes, you can do an open house. Thank God. I'm looking for somebody. I need help. So he's doing that open house while he's hanging up with the lady that had the listing. The first guy called him back and said, I got your message. It'd be great if you wanted to do the open house, and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm already booked. So 2 for 2, 1 for 2. I believe if you spent an hour calling real estate agents that had listings, you would find open houses. Right? I believe that, right? And if you do a good job, Roberta has latched onto somebody else, and the listing agent lets her do all the open houses. The listing agent refers buyers to her if somebody comes. All right.
That's how the new agents find business.
That's the way new agents find business. And by the way, 507, I can do a search for who's got open houses that are not, you can actually find how many open houses there's going to be in Santa Clara County through the MLS. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's open house is a thing you could add, right? For example, if I really want to do this right now, if we go to add and remove. My point would be there's 500 and OPEN, oops, I have to be able to spell. Active open house count, open house active, yes or no, open house upcoming. So I'm going to add that. And if I go back to open house upcoming, what I'm going to find, so just look at that number, there's 507, and it puts it at the bottom, open house upcoming. I really don't know how to do this. I'm going to have to ask them. My point is, I shouldn't have done this. I think it wants a date, but I haven't done this before with that one. What you're going to find, there aren't 507 open houses. Right, in Santa Clara County, there are not. There's 507 vacant listings. But I'll figure out how do you find out which ones are being held and which ones are not. But I would just be calling all those agents, right? And if you don't want rejection, by the way, is it possible, so as we're going through the list, is it possible that there are agents that live in San Jose, where the house is in San Jose, that is not vacant, that still would like help with an open house. Is that possible?
Yeah.
And if you spent time, you could email them, it'd be better to call them, right?
Mhm.
Now, let's say if you're saying to me, well, you know, I'm fussy.
I want only the best possible open houses. And I have criteria. I want to make sure, what would you do if you were calling me on my listing and you wanted to do an open house? What would you do to convince me to do the open house for you?
Okay.
My number one would be a script. In other words, would it be better for you to actually decide in advance what are you going to say? And and by the way, you also could have an email. And so, say what? Say what? So what is the number one complaint that a listing agent has about an agent who does an open house? So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller because it's going to go on. Oops, wrong way, that way. Number one complaint is you do the open house for me. It's over, you get the signs and you go away. And you don't call me, you don't text me. The owner calls me up or texts me and says, how did the open house go? I don't know because you did the open house, not me. I call you and you don't answer the phone. I text you and you don't reply. It's now 9 o'clock Saturday night. The owner has texted me 5 times asking for what happened at the open house. You're not answering my calls or text messages. Now, what is the chance that I don't want you to do an open house for me ever again, right? It's just gone way up.
Yeah.
So as you're leaving, if you were to text me, how many people came? How many had agents? Anybody seem interested in an offer? Did they have any feedback about the home? What did they like? What did they didn't like? I would like to know.
Okay.
Would you want, if you want to convince me to do an open house, do you have signs?
Yeah.
Open house signs? Do you need mine? If you need mine, and by the way, as a new person, you could borrow mine, but let's say if you were trying to, would a listing agent that's out of the area might not have signs for you. Are you going to, do you have your own signs? Are you going to put them up? How many are you going to put up? Do you have are you going to put up a lot of signs? All right, a lot? Let me just do that. Are you going to put up a lot of signs? Do the owners want a lot of signs for the open house? Definitely. Would it help your case if you could say to me, I'm going to put up 6 or 10 open house signs? Are you going to run an ad in Craigslist? Do you know how to run an ad in Craigslist?
Mm-hmm.
Can you run an ad for the house and say that there's an open house, run an ad for the property that's going to be an open house? Are you going to do that?
Yeah.
What else could you do? Have you heard of Facebook? Does Facebook have events?
Mm-hmm.
Can you create a Facebook event for the open house? Can you boost it?
Yeah.
Boost it means you're going to pay $20
Okay.
to make sure that all the people that are in that area actually see the open house.
Mm-hmm.
Could that help you in getting clients?
Definitely.
Would it make me feel happier to let you do the open house?
Uh-huh.
What else could you do? Could you hand out 100 flyers? Go knock on 100 doors around the open house.
Mm-hmm.
Say hello. My name is Mike Keller Williams. We're doing an open house around the corner. We just want to let you know you're invited to come and check it out. Here's information. How long have you lived in the house? When do you plan on selling? You could ask them other questions. Would that be a good thing if you're the listing agent that you're going to do that? What else could you do? By the way, you're going to notice if you study how to do open houses, there's all these different things. How long of an open house are you going to do?
Like hours?
Yeah, how many hours?
Okay.
By the way, is there a law that says the open house has to start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? No, I don't think so either. Could you start at 9 or 10? All right, could you have 2 open houses? One for sellers in the morning, inviting neighbors only, private showing, come on by, see the house. Now you're talking to people that are likely to be selling the home in the area. And then you can do another one. Could you just do a 9 to 5 open house? Bring your lunch, be there all day long. What else could you do? One of the questions that I ask buyers, if they want to write an offer, is how bad do you want to buy this house? How bad do you want to buy this house? If you're an agent, I would ask you, how bad do you want to get an open house? So I'm going to throw in a sign-in sheet. And how about this? This is if you said to me, and by the way, Mike, if I get any business from your open house, any business, I'm going to pay you a 25% referral fee. Right?
Okay.
You let me do the open house, any business I get, another listing, a buyer, anything I get from the open house, 25% referral fee. Right now, I have a sign-in sheet, which I'm going to share with you so you can see if anybody, but now there's 2 reactions I get to this. First of all, my suggestion is if you're starting out, you may not need to do this. Like if you're calling the vacant people that live out of the area, some of them, I've known people like that would say, I'll pay you $50. Just do the open house. Please do the open house, right? So you don't need to bribe them, but let's say there's an agent that has a listing in the area who really doesn't need your help. Because it doesn't really need it. He's got a whole bunch of people from his office or her office that wants to do open houses. But you say to him, look, I'm going to pay you 25% referral fee. Right, if you let me do the open house. Are these other agents doing that? And now, I'm not saying that you have to do that, but I'm just saying if you are really motivated to do that open house, you could do all that, right? And if we put this together in a script and we actually had a little proposal, this is what I do in an open house. Keller Williams has what they call the 5-level open house. If you were to, and then I'm gonna end this. If we go to kw.com. So I've already shared my YouTube channel, which has more than you ever wanted to know about an open house. And we go here to, I'm going to log into Keller Williams. And by the way, there's, you watch my videos, I show how to make flyers for the open house, how to do it easily, so you have your own flyers. I cover all the details. For me, the problem isn't the details, it's my issue is I have to motivate people to actually go get open houses. Right, you understand? It's not the details of how do I do an open house, there's lots of stuff. But let's say I go here to education and I go to KW Connect. And it wants me to log in again because it's just one of those days. And what do you want to learn today? Open house. You can see I've done this before. And I click on search. Hold an effective open house, Session 3, open house follow-up in Keller Williams Technology. Get ready for your open house, your paperless open house, building your brand with successful open houses, capture leads at your open house, open house evaluation forum. Chris Suarez shares open house secrets. The one day sale that sold a house. I don't know if that's an open house. The 7th level shift open house chart. Yeah. And there's which is a list of all the different things you can do from level 1, sign on the yard, level 2, sign with balloons, level 3. So, and if I've decided I want to sell real estate and I'm going to do open houses, I'm going to do them really good, they're going to be writing songs about me. Open house by the way, agents call me and say I need a sign-in sheet for my open house. Do you see how I find sign-in sheets for open houses?
How about this? Open house tips for real estate, for realtors. Open house tips for realtors. Are we going to field, did you know the National Association of Realtors is a field guide for open houses? Open houses that work, Realtor Magazine, 10 tips, 25 open house ideas, 8 tips, 14 steps. If you want videos, if you want videos that are of a training nature, long videos, 1 hour and 44-minute hot topic successful open house strategies, mega open houses and 5 networking tips. Michael Maher, a Keller Williams guy, mega open houses with a mortgage coach. Did you know that mortgage agents will go with you on the open house? They'll get you, they'll be happy, they want to. Right, you notice Nan Marie had stuff at my open house. Movement Mortgage's sign was in front of my listing. You could get a mortgage agent to be there with you. They might be talked into bringing snacks and things. How to open a successful open house, make open houses that dominate, the bulletproof open house strategy. So I don't think, and by the way, I've had agents who watched my videos and then they started doing all this and then they stopped because they said that they were hearing the same ideas over and over and over again, right? But I guess where I'm going with this is before you email me and say, how do I do an open house? I don't know how to do an open house. How can I find out information about doing an open house? Do you understand I get emails like this like all the time?
Okay.
And I realize that, I think that one of my mentors used to say, you have to acquire your own strength, right? It's all there. It's easy to find, not that difficult. The hard part, which isn't really that hard, is you have to get open houses, right? All right, that's enough from me. I don't know if that was helpful to any of you online.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
So the open house, it is the listing agent is somebody I'm just trying to find buyers.
You want to find buyers, but you also can find sellers.
So people coming in, but they have some other houses to sell, so that I can
Right.
find. But there are also people who are they're already coming with the agents.
That's
Like,
right.
for
So
example,
the people that come with an agent, you leave them alone.
that you don't talk
Right.
about.
So you leave them alone. They'll get testy.
Yeah.
And by the way, so not everybody. So yes, I do know that some people have agents.
Yeah.
And they come with their agent, and that's not going to help you. Not everyone. If you had a retail store, does everyone that comes in buy stuff? Would you get mad at them? Why did you come into my store? You just let it go. So I have a script, which I'll send to you, but I have a script of what to say when people walk in. And if they come in with an agent, the agent will have a card. You take the card, you let them go and show the house. Keep the card. By the way, the listing agent wants to know, what could you do? One of the agents that I coached is at an open house. Hardly anybody's come to the open house. An agent came to the open house to preview the house, just to see. Agent shows up, said, I'm an agent, here's my card. She took the card, chatted with the agent. She said, by the way, do you realize, we'll see how many of you online can get this, that this is an opportunity. You're holding an open house, it's dead. An agent walks in, no buyer, just walks in to see the house. This is an opportunity. Okay. And the reason, what this agent did, she had heard me talk about this. This is an opportunity. So she engaged this other agent in conversation. So what office are you at? Oh, really? How long have you been there? You've been in the business very long. How are you doing? Do you know that much about Keller Williams? Have you ever heard about what Keller Williams is up to and what we're doing and while we're growing? And had a discussion with the agent. The agent wasn't doing that much, didn't have clients, stood there,
for 30, 40 minutes and talked about, and listened about, and asked questions about Keller Williams. And so the agent doing the open house said, well, would it be okay if we had somebody reach out to you about, would you like to find out more about the opportunities of Keller Williams? And so she met with, they would meet with me or meet with the other team leaders. And a year later, the person that she met with followed up. A year later, she joined Keller Williams, named that agent at the open house as her sponsor, and started selling real estate. Right? So even the people that show up, even if it's dead, there's, and I've been at an open house where there were 3 or 4 people came through and one of them bought a home from me quickly later. Right? So you don't need 100 people to come to the open house.
Yeah.
You need one person to show up that doesn't have an agent, that isn't committed to working with somebody else, that's still serious about buying real estate, that you can engage and have a conversation with and make them your client. That's all you need is one.
All right, guys,
Alright.
that's it.
So there's this open house you can do, or you can take your own buyers to the different.
You can do that. If you have buyers, you'll be showing them property, but I'm saying what happens if you don't have enough leads?
Exactly, so that's to begin with.
I do open houses. So every couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing this on Saturdays where we need a bigger room because we had too many people show up in person. Talk to you guys later.